So welcome to Yoga Talks. It's so good to be here this morning. So I'm excited about this pose I'm going to discuss today, triangle pose, because whenever I come into triangle pose, it feels so good in my body. I feel like just that openness in the chest and the grounding in the legs and length in the spine. So I think just coming into a just very grounded and open pose you can find a little balance and clarity. So triangle pose is technically called Utthita Trikonasana. So Utthita just means extended. And tri is 3, kona is angle, and asana is always the pose or the posture. So Utthita Trikonasana is our triangle pose. And you'll find that it both stretches and straightens your thighs, it stretches and strengthens your thighs, your knees, and your ankles. It also opens your hips, your groins, your calves, and your hamstrings, the shoulders, chest, and spine. So there's a lot of stretching and opening that comes along with our triangle pose. I wanted to talk a little bit about just a couple of things that you might find would take you out of all of these feelings of grounding and opening, just common misalignments in your triangle pose. So the first misalignment is, so you would be coming into the pose with your feet apart, and sometimes you'll come in from a warrior two, you'll have a wider stance. So your front leg is turning straight ahead. Your back foot is turned in about a 45-degree angle. Your hips are open and your arms are open and extending through the chest. So what I might see in triangle pose is maybe like people going for the floor instead of really finding that big opening across the chest, or bending the front knee, which really kind of puts everything pelvis out of alignment. Or maybe even like a spaghetti arm on the top, so you're not really engaging the arms. The top arm is always over the bottom arm. It's going to give you that opening. So let's talk about just the right way to do it, and we can do this together. So come onto your mat, and I'm going to face you, but you're going to face the long edge of your mat, and you can step or jump your feet apart. So 3 or 4 feet apart, just depending on how long your legs are. And we'll start with the right side. So you're going to turn your right foot to the right, turn your left foot in, and you're open, your pelvis is open to the side. You're plugging your feet into the mat. So you want to feel that anchor point of your feet and your legs grounding down. So from that point, the arms open and you reach the fingertips east to west. So you feel that extension all the way through the collarbones, wide to the side. Now, you're reaching the right arm forward. You're lengthening through the waist. So this whole right side starts to get longer as you reach. Now, at this point, you're bringing your right hand maybe down to the shin or to a block, and your left arm to the sky. You're rotating your chest open. If you feel any strain in your neck, you look down. You still feel the feet plugging into the ground, the chest reaching and opening to the sky, and the left fingertips are energized up. Good, let's come on out. And just bring your feet towards the long edge of your mat. We'll take a little counter pose in a forward fold. So a wide forward fold, and just come on down and bring your hands down. And just take a deep breath in and an even deeper breath out. And then you'll bring your hands back to your hips. So if you felt a little unsteady, you can bring your feet a little closer together because you want to feel grounded and steady in the legs. We'll do the other side. So you're going to press turn your left foot towards the left, straight, and then you're turning your right toes in about a 45-degree angle. And then press down into the feet. Feel that grounding energy through both legs. Your quadriceps are really engaged here, so you're lifting above the kneecap. The arms open, and you want to feel just reaching and lengthening through both sides. As you reach, the left side gets longer. Keep reaching through the left fingertips until you find that length. right arm to the sky, chest to sky. And you might imagine you're leaning on the wall behind you. So there's a wall behind you. You want both shoulder blades to touch. Good. Energize the arms, plug the feet in, stay with that steady breathing. And then we inhale, lift up, release the arms. And then you can step or jump your feet together. Clasp your hands behind your back, interlace your fingers, open up the chest. Look to your right. Look to your left. Look to the middle. And then release the arms and shake it out. So that is our triangle pose. How does everybody feel about triangle?
I love it.
Anybody have any questions about it? Yes.
I have a question. So you mentioned,
Go ahead, Fairness.
Go.
Okay. So you mentioned not to bend the knees.
Uh-huh.
Is it okay to lock the knees?
No, locking puts a lot of pressure. You think about like locking the knee joint, and I know like hot yoga, they're always telling you to lock your knees. But when you're locking your knees, you're putting so much pressure. So really, what you want is to feel the quadricep lifting away from the knee. So it's that engaging of your quad that's going to keep the knee active, which is a little different than locking your knees. So you want a more muscular energy, if that makes sense.
Okay, so like maybe bend it a little bit, like
It's
to be loose, like not right.
It's like soft without locking.
Okay.
Right? So do you remember, did anybody ever play with Barbie dolls or have Barbie dolls and their legs never straightened? It was never like that straight leg. There was always just sort of like that little teeny tiny bend. It's kind of like, it's not a bend. It's not a bend in your knee. That's not a bend. It's a straightening and then an energizing and a lifting up. So if I were to lock my leg, I put so much pressure into the joint now. So this is locking the leg rather than using more of a muscular energy. That's an awesome question though. Thank you for asking that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Barbara.
My question has to do with the shifting once we're in the position and we reach either right or left. I noticed quite a hip shift there. And I'm wondering if that's what we should be feeling. Yes, 'cause
there is that opening in the pelvis, because you have to move that in order to get into lengthening the spine. And I always find too really helpful. So when I'm in the pose and I'm coming a little closer so you could see the hips. So the legs are super active. And then I tip the pelvis. Can you see how the pelvis tips?
Yeah, that's
and then you get this length in your underside. Okay. So without tipping the pelvis, you really kind of like have to move, you have to bend through your waist. So when you tip the pelvis and reach, you get more length here.
Gotcha.
More opening, if that makes sense.
Yep. Thank you.
That's an awesome question. Does anybody else have any questions?
I have one more.
Yeah, sure.
So the neck, I know sometimes like, because I want to look up, but then I'm not sure if I'm putting too much strain on the neck.
So everybody's going to be a little different in terms of just how your neck is feeling. But so drishti is where you're putting your gaze or your focus. So there are actually 3 drishtis that you can use in triangle. One, if maybe your neck is a little tender, you're looking down at the ground. So like sometimes my neck bothers me. I have arthritis in my neck, and quite often I find I get the best alignment by gazing down at the ground. You could also look straight out in front of you. And you would think ears equidistant from the shoulder, so you're not tipping your head to one side. And then the final drishti, which is the most straight on your neck, is looking up towards that top thumb. So that's going to give you that last rigidity. But the alignment of the neck is always, the neck is long. You're not putting your chin down towards your chest, or you're not lifting the chin up. So it's really thinking about length through the crown of the head. And quite often the misalignment is when you're looking up. When you're looking up, your head comes more forward. I don't know if you can see that. So you'd be bringing the head, the back of the skull, in line with the spine. So the back of the head lines up with the spine.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, but that's another excellent question. Awesome. I know these poses, we go through them pretty fast in class, but it's nice just to take time and think about one pose while we're flowing. And we'll have all different times to explore triangle today. One of my favorite variations is triangle up against the wall, because it just gets you in a place where you could really open your chest. Remember when we did half moon and we did it up against the wall? You can get that same feeling on triangle up against the wall. So if you have a wall handy, or somewhere that, maybe there's a door nearby that you can go up against your wall, and then find that length. And then you can push your head into the wall. You can press both shoulders into the wall. You can get that feeling and sensation of what it really feels like to have those shoulders stacked over that front leg. Yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you everyone for joining my yoga talks. I'm going to